How I quit smoking. I quit smoking. I started smoking at 16. For the longest time, I smoked 2.5 packs of cigarettes a day. And this is what quitting smoking was like. This is how I quit smoking, why I quit smoking, because I'm a cocaine and alcoholic addict. I got sober from those. Quitting smoking was literally the hardest thing when it came to an addiction to actually get out of, to actually stop smoking. It was more difficult than I could have ever imagined. If you're new to the channel, hit the like and subscribe button. My name is Eric. I'm not a counselor, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, I'm none of that. I'm a recovering cocaine and alcoholic addict. I'm diagnosed with ADHD, PTSD, GAD, MDD, level 1 autism. I've self-harmed before. I take meds. I see a therapist. My wife and father committed suicide. I attempted suicide. And I like to share what I've been through in life, maybe to help somebody out there just feel a little bit less alone. Quitting smoking was one of the hardest things I'd ever done. I had no desire to quit smoking. I didn't want to quit smoking. I liked smoking. And I had smoked ever since right around 16, 17 is when I started smoking. I was consistently smoked, at least maybe a pack a day. Later on, 25, 26, started smoking about 2 packs a day. For the longest time, I smoked 2.5 packs of cigarettes a day. It was a brutal addiction, but it was one of those that I never looked at smoking like I did cocaine. I never looked at smoking like I did alcohol. It was one of those that, all it did was make me smell bad. But it was like being a prisoner to it. Smoking was the worst. You're a prisoner to it. You always are looking for, when can I go outside? You start to feel the withdrawals a little bit if you haven't smoked for a while, if you're on a flight. There's so much headache that went along with smoking. So last year in May, I decided to quit smoking. The reason I decided to quit smoking is I was single. I was on dating websites, and I had started getting really healthy. I'd been going to the gym already a couple months very consistently, started losing weight, started liking how my body was changing. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take it to the next step. I'm gonna quit smoking. A lot more than what I thought it would be. I've tried to quit smoking before in the past and failed. I had been smoke-free for a couple months, and then I would go back to smoking. This is the longest that I've ever quit smoking for. So in May 5th of 2021 is when I quit smoking. It was the last cigarette I had, and I have not smoked since. When I came up to Idaho, I had sat with my doctor. He's like, dude, you're in perfect health, except for the smoking. You're gonna wanna quit. You're 40, 41 almost. And have you ever thought about quitting before? And I'm like, yeah, I've done the patch, I've done the gum. Neither of those worked. We talked about Chantix. I was afraid of Chantix because I explained to him, like, dude, here's my mental health history. Like, I've attempted suicide before. I've struggled with depression. I struggled with a lot of stuff, and I know what some of the side effects of Chantix are, and I'm not really excited about that. Didn't quit when I met with him. That was actually back in like March when I met with that doctor. May starts coming around, and I realized one of the things holding me back from dating and meeting people was the fact that I smoked. People don't like smokers. And I was like, you know what? I want to quit. This is just another reason to. Let's add it to the list. Let's quit smoking. And so did the research, and I ended up with nicotine pouches. Now, nicotine salt pouches, there's no tobacco on them. It's not the same as like Camel has the snuff pouches, any of that. It's not actually any tobacco at all in it. And I was like, you know what, let me talk to my doctor about it. And I asked him, and I go, going to these pouches, it's essentially the same as Nicorette. It's the same as the pouch, or as the patch, just that it's in a pouch form. I put it in my mouth. What do you think? And he was like, well, you can give it a try. So I did. And that is literally how I started to quit smoking, because I'm very addicted to nicotine. And this was something that I was scared to do. I was scared to quit smoking because I knew how much nicotine kind of dictated my life. So I went and bought a bunch of the nicotine pouches. So I started, and I remember that first day, the first day that I quit, I didn't realize how hard the habits were. So when you're quitting smoking, it's like you almost have two addictions. You have all these habits, and then you have the nicotine side of it. Man, my whole day was dictated around smoking. I wake up, drink coffee, go outside. While the coffee was brewing, I'd be outside, I'd smoke a cigarette, I'd go inside, I'd start a couple sips of my coffee, I'd take my coffee outside, smoke another cigarette, drinking my coffee. It was an excuse to always get away from people. And I had to really start breaking a lot of my habits that I had and like really stomach through it, because the habits themselves made me want to smoke. It was my time to get away at work. Like, okay, I'm in the middle of a busy day. If I want to take a little break, I always had an excuse. I'm going to go out and smoke a cigarette. And this is now gone. So I had to readjust and relearn habits. And the hardest habit that I had to relearn was my morning routine, because I couldn't smoke in the morning. So in the morning, it was when I made that coffee, man, the first couple of weeks, especially, man, making that coffee, not smoking a cigarette, drinking that coffee, not smoking a cigarette, it was not the same. And it was like this whole like inside, like, ooh, just have a cigarette in the morning. And I knew how my addictive personality is, that I couldn't smoke in the morning. I can't control it, just like any other addiction. It's not like, hey, I'm just going to do it at these certain times. Not my personality, not how it worked with me. So I was like, I have to stop all out. So I had to readjust a lot of my habits. I dug into the gym a little bit more, downloaded a smoking app, got a bunch of these pouches. These are the on pouches. This is 8 milligrams right here. I'm tapering down off of the different milligrams down lower and lower. Because my goal is to actually be completely nicotine free by this time again next year, by May of 2023 is my goal. I have the pouches. I needed the pouches as my tool because the gum necessarily didn't really work for me. Patches didn't do anything for me. Didn't want to do Chantix. I wasn't going to vape and stuff. I know people have quit smoking by vaping and switching over to vaping. You still have that nicotine, but you still have the habit. That's what I had to get away from, was the habit. Because if putting anything, I tried quitting smoking before with vaping, and all that ended up happening is it's the same habit. Now I'm going outside to vape. Might as well have a cigarette. Next thing you know, I'm smoking again. So I never really chewed. So these are just plain salt nicotine pouches. You put it in your mouth. I can feel it. It's something to focus my brain on, that I have it in. So it almost calms that urge. It does have nicotine in it, so it calms the nicotine urge. It allows me to where I'm not smoking. These were literally was how I quit smoking. Those were my lifesavers to it, because it was so difficult to quit smoking. And I mean, the first day that I quit smoking, about 8 hours into the day, I took a nap, and I remember I woke up from that nap and I could just smell everything in the room smelled different, and I could smell the smoke. I mean, I did all my laundry, I'm doing my sheets, I'm doing my bedding, because it was disgusting. And you never realize it when you're doing it. You don't realize what other people smell. I mean, it's coming up on a year here shortly that I have not had a cigarette. And I can tell instantly around people that they smoke, and that smell is just like, oh, I used to smell like that. It was a struggle. It was a struggle. And having a sobriety like tracker for smoking, because they have the quit smoking apps, that really helped, because I could track and see my days going by. And man, once you hit that first month, you start to build that little bit of momentum. And I kept the same mentality of when I quit alcohol and I quit cocaine, of knowing I can never do it again. I can't tease with this. I can't toy with it. And it also made it easier too, because I don't drink. So when I used to drink is when I used to smoke even more. So I don't drink. I had stopped a lot of those different habits that I did. And I was actually a little nervous with the nicotine pouches, because I'm like, I'm not really quitting smoking, until I had to get some staples put into my leg because I was out dirt biking. I hurt myself. And they're like, hey, are you on any kind of, are you a tobacco user? And I'm like, well, I don't smoke or chew, but I use the nicotine salt packets. There's no tobacco in them. And they're like, oh, okay, you're tobacco free, you're smoke free. And I'm like, oh. And that was a really good feeling. It was the first time ever that I had a nurse who was like, oh, no, you're tobacco free then. And I'm just like, wait, what, me? Who, me? And that was an ego boost to me. And man, it's the financial freedom a little bit from it. I mean, 2 packs of cigarettes a day isn't cheap, and then you're buying other stuff while you're in the store. So I mean, I could walk out of the store, 2 packs of cigarettes, a couple Red Bulls, and I'm like $30 deep. And that's an everyday event. And then you're like, okay, 30 times 10 is 300 times, how many and it's like, geez, man, that was such a waste of money. But it was struggle, man. Quitting smoking was the hardest addiction that I'd ever quit. To quit those habits, to change up those habits, was the most difficult ever. I'm going to do a couple videos on the quit smoking and even sharing about the journey, because I haven't ever really hit the points of relapsing on smoking. I'm going to talk about it a little bit, I guess, like an addiction, because it is an addiction. It's nicotine addiction. But it's not, like, my brain doesn't even classify it the same as like how it was with cocaine or how it was with alcohol. But it was a struggle. I mean, I told everybody out there that I quit smoking. And of course, just like everyone, oh yeah, well, when you start posting your progress, people start to finally catch on. And they start to root you on. So you get that support. And it was fun because like my motivation was there. My reward was like I started to be able to date more people. I had more matches. I wasn't like in the confines of like have to go smoke. And I got to enjoy my time with people a lot more too, which was really awesome. So quitting smoking was one of the best decisions that I'd ever done. I'm glad that I had quit. It was something I was worried about. I found that if you want it bad enough, you're going to get it and you're going to make it happen. And that's what I ended up doing. Anybody out here who's trying to quit smoking, I get the struggle. I know there's a ton of different support groups out there. The nicotine pouches, these work the best for me. Doing the vape route, whatever, just whatever works for you, and it's all different for all of us. All I can say is that right now, as of today, I am smoke-free, and I've been almost smoke-free for a year, and it feels great. My lungs feel better. I'm in better shape. I've gotten even more motivated at the gym. And I start to take more pride in myself. And a lot of those habits that a real big struggle with, like smoking in the morning and stuff, those habits, you reform new habits and you don't notice it and you don't feel the effects that you did before. I mean, hit the like and subscribe button, comment down below. I'd love to get your guys' opinion because that's what it's about. The more that we share what we're going through and what we've been through, the more that helps nobody feel alone. And that's the whole thing of life, is just not feeling alone. Quitting smoking is one of the hardest things I've ever done, but it's one of the things I am the most grateful for doing. So if you're out there struggling, you're taking that first day and you're gonna quit smoking, man, props to you, you got this. But get the help, get the support, find something to help you, because I couldn't quit cold turkey. I didn't have the strength to quit cold turkey. I would have ripped my skin off if I went cold turkey. So if you're out there, you're fighting through it, you got this. Hit that like and subscribe button and let's do this together.